Okay, so before we get started with our lessons, I want to go over the materials that we will be using for this class. This class will be focusing primarily on charcoal. That's why it's called Charcoal Like Mad, but I want you to begin by understanding that there are different types of charcoal. And I didn't understand this until just recently as I started playing with charcoal and really using it to do my portraits. And just trying to get better in my own charcoal drawings and portraits. So there's a lot of different types of charcoal, but the ones that are used most commonly are compressed charcoal, which are these here in this box, vine charcoal, and then charcoal pencils. So those are the three most commonly used charcoal by artists. And so I want to talk about the differences between those three, and then we're also going to look at other types of charcoal, different tools to use with your charcoal, and then we'll get into our lessons. So before me here, I have cold press watercolor paper and I have hot press watercolor paper. We'll be using both of these in the lessons. So this here is cold pressed and this is hot pressed. Cold pressed is more textured, hot pressed is very smooth. Okay, so you're going to get different results depending on what you use. Let's start by looking at vine charcoal. So vine charcoal comes in, a lot of times you'll get a bag that looks something like this, and there will be various sizes of sticks and chunks for you to work with. So vine charcoal, it's the result of burning sticks or vines in a kiln without air. And then the removable properties of the vine charcoal through dusting and erasing are favored by artists because they create these beautiful preliminary sketches and basic compositions. And they're not really, vine charcoal is not really suitable for details, but it is really great to begin your portraits with. It is much lighter than compressed charcoal. It's very, very soft. And I just want to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to show you what it looks like on each of these substrates. And so if I blend that in, you can see it blends very differently on each type of paper. It's much lighter here and much darker here, and that's because of the texture. So this paper, it has, it's more toothy, if you want. It's to say it's got more of a grip, and this has nothing. So because this has more texture and that grip, it's holding on to that charcoal more. Okay, so that is vine charcoal. That's what I started with. And then next to the vine, I'm going to come in, these are the Dick Blick charcoal crayons or charcoal sticks. And this is compressed charcoal. And you can immediately notice a difference in color. Okay, so much darker. And compressed charcoal is also referred to as charcoal sticks. They are usually shaped into a block or a stick, and the intensity of the shade is determined by the hardness. So there's harder and softer charcoal sticks. And the amount of gum or wax binders that are used during the production process affects how hard or soft the product is. And the hardness, the softer ones typically are going to be darker than the harder ones. Now Derwent makes charcoal sticks that come in a variety of colors. So this is called a light stick, and it's going to be more along the lines of this color. And then it has a darker stick. It's got like 3 shades. And this one's harder. So this one isn't, here we go. Okay, so you can see the difference between those. This is a light, this is a dark, this is a soft, this is vine, this is compressed. So we're seeing that compressed can come in various shades, and we're also seeing that vine and compressed create different colors. Derwent also makes these amazing charcoals. I've seen 2 packs of these. This pack comes with black. It's like an olive green, brown, kind of like a red oxide or raw sienna color. I'm sorry, burnt sienna color, an ochre, and a white. And so this black came out of here. This is a compressed charcoal chunk, extra large chunk, and you're going to see it is really soft. These blend very nicely. And we're going to see that this color is in between these 2. Okay, so, but look how nicely that blends on the paper. So the extra large chunk and the vine charcoal, those are the softest. And this compressed is actually also really soft. It just takes more layers to get it really dark. So typically I put on about 2 layers and blend that in really nice, and then I'll get a solid, solid black. So if you're creating something that has a solid black shadow, such as hair or under the chin or under the eyes, the irises, the pupils, hair, whatever, usually 2 layers of this will come out very dark and very nice. When I'm doing my portraits, I start with vine always. You always want to start lighter and build up with the dark later. So you'll see when I do my full charcoal portrait at the end of the course, it's a full portrait, not using gesso. I'm not using gesso or water or anything. I will begin with the vine, and then I'll bring in the darker later. You can always bring in more dark, but you can't always go back to light. So it's really important to start light and then go dark, okay? So we talked about vine, we talked about compressed. We also have pencils. These are the Peel and Sketch pencil by Generals, which I love. I've heard a lot of people say they have a hard time peeling them, so I want to show you what you do. You just pull the string and then you peel. So it'll peel off a little bit at first, then you've got to find that edge and you just keep peeling, 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 peeling until you're all peeled up, okay? Now, how do we sharpen those? You can take a razor blade or you can use one of these little sanders. You just rub it on here. Keep rubbing until you get your point. Some people really want that point, and that's really important to them. And so you would just keep rubbing that until you get your pointy charcoal, okay? So this is a sharpener here. All right, when it comes to blending your charcoal, before we go on to that, the charcoal pencils, these also come in soft, medium, and hard. And so we will see, this is soft, medium, hard, okay. And what else I wanted to point out with a pencil is that you can use it like this. You can create marks. You can roll your charcoal as you're going. And you can do the same with your crayons or your sticks. You can use the edge to create interesting lines. You can use the corner to create interesting lines. You can go this way, right? So you can use your charcoal in a variety of ways. Really experiment with that and see what all you can do with your charcoal. You can, and this is a piece of willow, you can use the side. This you can twist it as you're going along to get interesting marks. So really be sure to experiment with your charcoal and see, what it does, what it can do for you. There's different ways you can blend your charcoal, different materials that you can use. I love my blending sticks. I use these a lot, as you will see. You can use your fingers, you can use your blenders. You can put charcoal in a little sock or a little nylon, and you can use that. There's actually charcoal powder inside here, and so I can do this and spread that around. That will give you a really light shading with charcoal. You can use a chamois. Chamois will, it's just another way to blend. You can press hard, or if you press lightly, it will work differently depending on how much pressure you use, as with anything. Some other tools that we will be using are erasers, and I encourage you to get a variety of erasers. This is one of my favorites. Factus and Tough Stuff, Papermate, both make them. It's just kind of like a pencil eraser, so it can make some really nice lines in your charcoal work, and it can erase pretty well. You can get in there and do details with these, like in the eyes and the mouth, wherever you're wanting. I use these with hair a lot. I also have a Tombow, which is a smaller version of this, and I think somebody may have taken it home at my Charcoal Like Mad workshop that I just had, so I can't show you that one, but that's on the list as well. This is a rectangular, it was white, it's by Derwent, but this eraser is really amazing, and I got this one from Angela Kennedy. Thank you, Angela. It just erases really nicely. You can use your gummy erasers. These are great for just picking up a little bit of color and just pushing on the paper rather than rubbing. So it is gentler and can work really well. You can twist it into a point. It's gummy, so you can shape it into whatever shape you want. You can make it into a point and then, work it into certain areas. And then I also love this eraser. This is by Generals. It's a tri-tip triangle. I just love it. And it also erases really well. And I use it a lot as well in my portraits. Now that I've made this big mess and I've spoken to you about a variety of things that we'll be using, we're going to get started. The one last thing I use two different materials for the white in my portraits. I use General's white charcoal pencils, and I also use the Conte à Paris. I use the white. You can see that's all I have left. So those are both of those are great materials to use for white. We will be using clear gesso, and in a couple of the projects I add in color. You can use soft pastels, you can use neos, you can use oil pastels. Any of those will work. Colored pencil, any of those items will work for the color part of our projects. So I hope you have a better understanding of pencils, vine, and compressed charcoal. Remember, we're going to go vine to begin and then compressed later because the compressed is darker. So start light and work as you're working your layers, get darker as the layers continue. Alrighty, let's get going.